Hello, this will be my first video detailing lore of my hyperfixations, and of course, this will be before the release of Treachery, so things are bound to change. Firstly, it's important to know what occurred before the game. Back during World War I, machines were used instead of soldiers. Machines quickly became controlling over the war. Most machines and who they were made by are unknown, but from what we have seen, Russia made the Guttermen to dominate over trench warfare. Guttermen would quickly and effectively mow down any soldiers unable to escape. As a counter, Germany made the Gutter Tank, or Tank Fist as its arm says, as a counter to the Guttermen, its fists and bombs being its main weapons. Eventually, more and more robots quickly led to Japan creating a machine known as the Earthmover, whose sheer size and power could destroy a city in seconds. Earthmovers would prove effective against absolutely everyone, but there was something unique about all of these machines. They would use blood for fuel, particularly seen in the Guttermen's coffin, where prisoners or deserters would be used as fuel disguised as volunteers to power them. Eventually, towards the end of the war, V1 was created, of course, to destroy Earthmovers brutally and efficiently. Earthmovers had now housed refugees on their backs, which would be killed by V1 for fuel as it reached the brain of the Earthmover, though this was scrapped to the war's, quote, end. After the war settled, the sky was noticeably darker, blocking out the sun. This was known as the Long Night. Earthmovers used both sunlight and blood due to the sheer size for power. Of course, the Long Night brought down the beast, allowing anyone who remained to see all the damage. Seeing this inspired New Peace, where mankind aspired to rebuild and fix their mistakes. During this, new machines, including V2, drones, and street cleaners, were built for defense, security, protection, and fixing what had gone wrong. Eventually, with no materials on the broken remains of the surface, mankind began to mine and dig. During this period of mining, they would eventually find a portal to Hell. Humanity would later find new materials while exploring the depths of Hell. During these, terminals were created for storage and transportation of objects. Eventually, Hell itself took notice of all who were exploring its depths. Husks and demons would come closer and react violently to humanity, and soon only robots would be sent into Hell. Hell itself was also capable of corrupting systems such as door mechanisms and even documents. Even mechanized husks would occasionally be spotted, known as soldiers, until eventually mankind would become extinct through unknown means. Now here comes the real game. During this, I'll be explaining punishment in each layer, and the actions of V1 and its eventual consequences on Hell, but through chronological order, I'll display a list of how this will go. As said, the next discussion will be about the occurrences leading up to the game, such as the Prime Souls and how the disappearance of God impacted heaven and yet why God had disappeared. God in Ultrakill is shown to display a lot of power within its lore, although power itself was not enough to undo his biggest mistakes. When mankind wouldn't carry out his will and became flawed and meaningless, he soon made Hell to punish those who went against him, but despite realizing it was wrong, he was unable to destroy his mistake. Gods later simply disappeared or perhaps died. Because of this, angels had left Hell. Eventually, the council was created to continue as God will, though flawed and corrupt. Due to the angels leaving Hell, two revolutions occurred in both greed and lust. Sisyphus had created an army to rebel against punishment, while Minos created Renaissance in lust, as he did not believe in their punishment. Both were struck down by Gabriel, who served under the council. An interesting concept in Ultrakill is actually how each husk is formed. Lesser-known people will be less powerful husks. But as for Minos and Sisyphus, due to their large influence, they were both incredibly large and powerful. But due to their souls being so powerful, they would both manifest into Prime Souls, which in simple terms are a stronger manifestation of a soul serving in-game as a challenge to the player after P-ranking all of Act 1 and Act 2. Enemy separation is an important way of putting each enemy into categories and making it a little easier to explain the more powerful compared to the less powerful. This will be a short topic and important for getting organized and understanding each of them. Virtues are orb-like manifestations of a soul just pure enough to be put into heaven. Providence are another lesser angels similar to the virtues introduced during Fraud, but are in Hell to find Gabriel after his final message. Greater angels so far only include powers, which are angels who have been able to manifest a humanoid form and aspire to be archangels. Filth are the first lesser husk and are the lowest form, lacking limbs, eyes, and overall brains. Strays are similar to Filth but have a complete body and basic self-preservation. Stalkers are the final lesser husk and are found in greed, and they have conformed their bodies to fit their punishment. due to the absence of angels and now carry bombs. Schisms are the first introduced greater husks, which are made by two souls attempting to manifest in the same place. Soldiers are the only other greater husk, and are really just strays with guns. Supreme husks include the corpse of King Minos, which doesn't really need an explanation. Sisyphean insurrectionists are the leftovers from the Greed Revolution. Ferrymen are just adorable, like, look at this little guy. Anyways, they're found in Wrath and have a ton of lore. They believe that eventually they would go to heaven via their duty of transporting souls. They also probably write fanfics about Gabriel in their free time. Anyway, Mirror Reaper is the final husk, and not much is known about it, but it's found in Fraud and has a mostly distorted body appearing in reflections commonly, hence the name. And no, we're not going to be talking about the demons, they're just flesh or rocks that just, yeah. Machines are the final category, but due to my pure laziness and them technically all being able to counter each other one by one and not having much use for this power separation, I'll just talk about each individual without specific categories. Drones were made during New Peace along with V2 for protection and security of the remaining people. Earth movers were created by Japan to blow up entire cities in quick succession with their giant laser. Sentries are literal snipers who plant themselves into the ground to fire their weapons. Swords machines are machines who recreate themselves with scrap and look super cool and stuff. Yeah. Mind flayers are flying machines who are similar to the swords machines and also have a little chase of their original looks, but they teleport around and shoot lasers too. Guttermen and gutter tanks are larger and bulkier machines, and as previously mentioned, were the first two types to be deployed during the Final War. Ultrakill's main setting takes place in Hell based off Dante's Inferno from layers 1 to 9. After the mouth of Hell, which is presumably where humans were active during Hell expeditions, Limbo is the first layer, featuring calming yet mechanical surroundings meant to mimic heaven. Limbo acts as a purgatory for those which were not inherently sinful but were not baptized or religious. Limbo mimics the looks of heaven to serve as a reminder of what its inhabitants could have had. Lust is the second layer where any sinners who desired love more than anything else would be sent, along with other love-related sins. During this later, we see the effects of the Lust Renaissance, as Lust takes the form of the city, although with the corpse of King Minos lingering in the background, possessed by parasites now destroying the city. Gluttony is the sin of hunger, where sinners are pulped into the walls and digested. This is also the first encounter with Gabriel. Greed is the fourth layer of Hell, featuring sand as hot as the sun, capable of burning anything. Its inhabitants are forced to repeatedly push boulders up pyramids. Wrath is a mostly water-based layer and includes the Ferryman and Leviathan. The layer includes the river Styx, which has become an ocean due to how many souls quickly flooded in during the Final War. Heresy includes the second Gabriel fight, and its punishment is getting burnt alive for eternity. Violence includes multiple sections representing the different versions of violence. Violence against one's neighbor, violence against self, and violence against humanity. Violence includes the Earthmover fight, which is fittingly put at the climax of its layer, and in violence against humanity. And the newest layer, Fraud, gives punishment via sensory overload and deprivation, featuring calming yet winding infinite chaotic paths, with nothing ever being as it seems. V1 is the gameplay protagonist of Ultrakill. V1 was originally scrapped during the Final War due to the start of New Peace. V1 is later put into Hell, though, through unknown means, and absolutely demolishing the entire population. V1 serves as a reminder of the game's lore and how Ultrakill's version of creation is what brings society's downfall. These V models create a unique environment in each of their perspectives. V1 shows the necessary things each robot must do to survive in their environment that they've been forced into. V2 shows the similar to V1, where survival has consequences, but V2 shows the pride that can develop through this survival and a chaotic cycle. The difference between the robots and other creatures is that, despite their sentience, they can't control what they're a part of. They have to continue fighting the war or else they will die. They carry on their purpose because there isn't anything else. There is no peace. Gabriel is the story protagonist. He's an archangel who is later manipulated by the Council after God's disappearance. After the fight with V1, he loses his tether to the Father's light and is outcast. After the fight in Heresy, he kills the Council only to disappear into Hell again. Gabriel shows an example of blind loyalty despite God being gone. His story allows an in-depth view on how everything was ruined after the Final War and how mechanization and destruction was able to tear apart key factors of the world's balance. Finally, Ultrakill shows the consequences of judgment and divine order and the failure of how war packs society. Once the final war starts, humanity is torn apart into groups before blood itself becomes a resource. The war becomes a failure and ultimately loses purpose once it's truly unstoppable. This war pushes Hell's control to a maximum, as for its own amusement, it takes inspiration off how mankind has destroyed themselves. It adapts to its own twisted sense of fun. Declares humanity a failure as they don't follow his rules. That free will itself was a flaw. He presents the idea that he's made a mistake. Eventually he disappears. Heaven devolves into chaos, all while Hell takes advantage of that chaos. Ultrakill presents the doomed society that war can bring and truly how bad it gets once everything truly becomes unable to stop. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry that I stuttered so much. It's really hard because my script was kind of funky. I don't know how this is only like 11 minutes long so far, but, thank you, and have a great day.